Maggie, what's up? How are you?
Hey, Ellie, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I've been so excited to formally meet you through the screen, even though,
Yeah.
it's through Zoom, but so excited to be here and chat and kind of nerd out on some
Yeah.
mindset topics today.
Without a doubt. I agree. So normally this, like I told you offline a little bit, my second to last question is why do this? Because I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't have a million followers. This might help you a little bit. It might not help you a little bit. I don't know. But you hit me up actually, right? So you hit me up and asked if we could do this. And then I kind of looked at your profile. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it, So why'd you hit me up? Because we don't know each other, right? We don't know each other.
Right. No, just through social media. And so first off, thanks for having me. That was kind of, a long shot in my mindset at the time, but kind of you mentioned this might help you out. This might not help you out. I think it's always important to go into anything like this with the faith that it will help you. And then also B, making connections with people that are so like-minded and keeping your kind of the things you're consuming on the same frequency as what you desire to be. So I saw your content. First of all, I saw some of your reels that you put out with JB Spiso. He's a very good friend of mine, a family friend. He kicked my husband's butt a few years ago in the military as one of his leaders. And so we have him over at parties all the time. We talk shop, we talk business. And I saw he was on your podcast. You released some reels. And at that point, I was just like scrolling through, consuming anything Elliot Marshall I could, because it was just so, I guess, energizing to see another person in this space talking about having the right desire and faith behind your goals and going after it.
Yeah, it's hard, right? It's a hard message to get through to people as well, right? Because I don't know, it's one of those things that a lot of people think they have. First of all, right? They're like, oh, I can, but I disagree. It's hard to sometimes put a positive spin on it, right? Like fixing or changing your mindset. And, I run into this one a lot, and tell me how you do with this. I hate, how do I say this? I don't hate. You have to be able to solve someone's problem when you're talking to them online.
Yeah.
So when you say you're solving someone's problem, it sounds like you have answers. And yes, I have answers, and my answers might not be for everyone, but it's hard to sound like they're not from everyone. So like this fine line of like, yo, come trust me, I'm this guru. I hate that, but we get attached to somebody and you have to do things to make them be like, oh, wait a minute, I want to click, or hit follow. Right.
Yeah.
So how do you, it's hard because like you have answers, right, that you do for your program, right? And how you help people. Is it 100%. The only way?
The only way to get results in general? Yeah. Oh no, there's so many resources out there. And I think you hit the nail on the head with like, you have to have the marketing behind your message of how to get people to click, how to get people's attention. And then once you bring them into your space and you're giving them these answers, these tools, and you're so passionate about it, you have to trust that they're then going to go apply it in the correct manner on their own and come back and say, wow, Maggie, you really changed my life. Versus the person that says, well, I'm taking in her messages and I'm listening to her, but it's not working for me. And so that's kind of where I've seen like where I have to really go hard is encouraging people just go after it. Listen to the things I'm saying and do it, implement, make the decision. And I think that's where a lot of coaches out there could up their ante a little bit, just encouraging people to go after it,
Yeah, it's because it's not soft.
Mm-mm.
Like if you need to change, if you need something, if you're missing something in your life and you want something differently, it's not a 90% thing. You're either in or you're out. You're either all the way in or you're all the way out. Like, I don't know. I like to say I've never jumped into the shallow end of the pool. Like I jump all the way in.
Yeah, you have to.
And I want you to jump all the way in with me. And if you don't want to, that's totally okay. It really doesn't fuck with me, but I can't deal with halfway.
Absolutely. That's actually a big frustration of mine that I've had to overcome this past year in business as not just a personal trainer and a nutrition coach, but a behavior change specialist, trying to really guide people who say, I want this in my life, I want that in my life, I have these big dreams. And then once we talk about it, they're very like stuck in the mud. They're anchoring into their issues, the reasons why they can't do something or get those results. And I have to say, you know, just because what I'm teaching might not work for them, that doesn't mean what I'm teaching isn't real. It might be the fact that they're not ready to take on the responsibility, take on that action and jump all in. So finding the people that are ready to not just tiptoe into the water, but literally deep end, cold as fuck water, like jump in.
And look, sometimes people's vibes just don't work as well, and that's okay. Right? Like, it's cool. You need it. It is 100% straight good if you need someone who's different. Right? Please hit unfollow, unsubscribe from my emails.
100%.
And just do your thing, man. It's great. I won't even know. Right? I won't even know because it's all over internet. Now, look, if my best friend comes to me and says, I don't want to be friends anymore, I'm really going to know, and that's going to fuck with me. But this online thing where people like, I don't like, and they follow you just to not like you, I can't understand it. Because, you know, look, I mean, most people on the podcast know I'm not a Trumper. I don't follow, you know, and guess even before he was deplatformed, I didn't follow him then.
Right.
Which I disagree with deplatforming people, but I don't follow them then. You know?
And on the day that, you know, we're all without a platform now, Instagram and Facebook.
Right. I was 5 minutes late to this or 3 minutes later, and I'm trying to message you. And I was like, shit.
Facebook is down, Instagram is down. But yeah, I think that's also like the need to have more followers, the need to have the likes, the clicks, everything like that. The attention has also turned coaches into chasers, you know, instead of thinking, how can I attract the ideal client? How can I attract the people that are going to understand my message and really want to implement? They're like saying, oh, this one person liked my account, I'm going to go after him hard, and I'm going to use all of my energy trying to convince them of my worthiness. And when in all actuality, you just have to flip that on its head. And it took me a long time to learn that, but.
So Maggie, how old are you?
I'm 30.
You're 30. Okay. You just crossed. Okay. I say 0 to 29 is young, 30 to 60 is middle-aged, and then 60 and up, you're old. And everyone is trying to get to old because getting old is a privilege. Okay. Everyone doesn't have the privilege of getting old. So anyway, congratulations on coming to middle ageism.
Thank you.
What got you into this work? Like, were you always into this work? What was your childhood like? Why, you know, what got you to where we are today, talking at, you know, 2:15 for you, 3:15 for me on a Monday afternoon?
Yeah. So, you know, I love that you kind of open this up with saying congratulations on making it to 30. We all want to be able to, we might cast down aging and say, you know, youthfulness is what we all want, but in the end, we are blessed if we make it to, you know, 60, 70, 80. And as a 30-year-old, I think that I have actually been able to experience things that made me appreciate that even more and become wise beyond my years. You know, and going back, I shared just before we started recording that I was born in Kansas, but I moved around a lot. My dad was military, and in the beginning, it all seemed really, really normal. Like it seemed like a really beautiful family. My mom was also from Kansas. My dad was stationed at Fort Riley at the time that I was born. I had 2 older brothers, and my mom was a school teacher. It was just, you know, cool, awesome Midwestern family. Age 5, we had moved around 3 different duty stations, and my dad was deployed. He was a Spanish linguist for the Army military intelligence, and he was in Central America, South America at the time. And my mom got lonely. My mom started suffering what a lot of, I think, military wives do suffer from: loneliness, the responsibility, the lack of her own identity. And I didn't know at the time. I just knew that something had shifted. She began drinking and being a different person, really being isolated, disconnected. And at age 5, I didn't know what that was, but I knew something was different. And I was the youngest of 2 brothers. They both kind of tried to delicately inform me of what was going on. Sometimes.
How old were they? How much older?
Yeah. So my middle brother, Eric, 2 years older than me. And then my oldest. And then my oldest brother was 9 years older than me.
9 years older than you. So
Mhm.
he was 14. So he knew what was up.
He knew what was going on. And he's actually my half brother. We have different dads.
Okay.
So Jake is my oldest brother. Eric was my middle brother. And a lot of people would say that Eric and I, 2 years apart, they would say, wow, you guys look like twins. We were just that close. Even in our own mannerisms, it's like we had our own little language. We were just like, we could look at each other and speak to each other. And they really tried to teach me and nurture me and also keep me protected. Very thankful for that. But, there was things that I saw still. My mom was bringing men over to the house. My mom was, no longer involved in any kind of activities. We were starting to make our own meals and having to pack our own lunches, things of that nature. And age 6, age 7, my parents got a divorce and we moved out and we moved with my mom. At that time, obviously, social media wasn't a thing. My dad was still deployed, and we lived in this house and endured a few years of really traumatic things. And I think maybe a lot of your listeners would even know this as well. If they've ever grown up in a household with addiction, being a child of an alcoholic, there's certain experiences that shape you. And a lot of my program is built around the paradigms that we are built on, the behaviors that we have based off our beliefs that we gain as children. Some of my beliefs that I grew up thinking about addiction in general was that addiction is always going to be in your life. Once addicted, you're always addicted. Once you are an alcoholic, you will never be able to drink without having control again. You'll never be able to imbibe. It's a disease. It's an incurable disease, and it's actually genetic. These are all the things that I learned outside of even my own capabilities. You learn a lot about people telling you or your parents telling you that you aren't capable of things, that you shouldn't dream big, that just the childhood trauma that occurs in that time.
It's so interesting how like, look, I had great parents, phenomenal parents. Like you couldn't have had better. Nobody had better. But it wasn't a thing in my house where it was like, yo, you can do anything. Because that just wasn't a thing. Like mindset, that it was just like mental illness wasn't a thing back then for our generation. You were of different generations, but still it was not right. Like it just wasn't talked about. Oh, you want to be a basketball player? Okay, go play basketball. Oh, right. The first step in this whole thing is belief.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to get too far off topic. We'll touch on this later, but there's a lot of resources out there that really talk about belief and desire being that foundation for anything you want. And no matter how good your parents are, but especially for those people that didn't have those great role models, those great solid leaders in their lives, without that, it's really difficult to create a self-image of like, yeah, I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to dream of this and not have all of these ideas of, oh, I can't do that. I don't have enough knowledge, or I don't have enough skills. I'm not smart enough for that. A lot of times our parents are actually programming us the other way. They're saying like, oh, better be safe than sorry. Better,
Plan B.
You make a plan B and have an escape route. And I think the people that have really succeeded in life had somebody in their ear telling them, hey, this is your shot, you do it. And or they had somebody telling them that they couldn't, and it fueled a fire for, what, I'm going to prove them wrong. So
yeah, for sure.
I had a really negative influence from my mom, and a lot of things that come up even to this day, watching like Matilda things, I notice where my mommy issues come in. But I had some really great role models as well. This is a law of polarity. If you can look in your life where you have the negatives, you have to be able to find a positive.
Oh my God. I love you, Maggie. I love you. Yes.
Universal laws in action.
Yes, there are no benefits without drawbacks, and there are no drawbacks without some benefits.
And when the drawback is really, 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 really bad, then that means that the benefit is really, 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 really good.
In some way you might not even see yet.
And I didn't see it for many, many years. I did not see it at all. It wasn't really until this past probably year and a half that I was able to look back and say, I am so thankful for my grandfather. I am so thankful for my father, who once he was done with his deployments, he stood up and he acted as that amazing father and mother. And he found me a really badass stepmom too. So,
and you have to be thankful for your mom, right? Because you wouldn't know the difference without her, right? Like
absolutely.
There has to be. It's so crazy how the law of polarity works. It's a motherfucker though.
It really messes with you.
It's a motherfucker, Maggie.
But it really, it alters your ability to perceive things differently. And I think that's a magical thing, that once you harness it, you can stop living as a victim and stop living in this world that you think that all these things, these bad things are happening to you. You're blind to the good things. So, I had these really great influences. My dad, my grandpa, my brothers, they taught me good work ethic outside of these things that I was picking up on from the tumultuous relationship with my mother. I had really great values instilled in me. I feel like there was some sort of different experience that I had than my middle brother, especially Eric, when I was 12 and he was 14. I'll just kind of jump right into it. Yeah. He took his life and we were home alone together. And when it happened, obviously, just so many questions. Any of your listeners, anybody that's ever been affected by suicide, it leaves so much to grieve over, and so many feelings of, needing to have answers, needing to place blame or have somebody take ownership, so many different things that just tear apart a family. And so not just dealing now with my mom's alcoholism, now dealing with this traumatic experience and not having my best friend who was always there to protect me. As much as I hated alcohol before Eric died, it was about 6 months before I actually tried it myself. And I remember drinking at age 13. And after I got the buzz, the feeling coursing through my veins, I remember looking at my friend and saying, no wonder my mom's an alcoholic. This feels amazing. And I still, to this day, obviously it sticks with me that I even thought that was my reaction. But it was the first time in my young years, probably half my life, that I had felt happy, that I had felt free, like I had felt like I could talk about things. And that continued age 13 until about age 28, and I'm now 30. So quite a big quantum leap between age 28 and 30, 15 years of drinking like a 250-pound man and not really connecting the dots of my actions to my results, and thinking that I live in a world where things just happen to me and I have to take it as it comes and deal with it. And I need to grind to be better, versus saying I have capability to change my results. I don't have to live in my trauma. I don't have to make this part of my identity. So, 15 years locked in this perpetual cycle of remembering my paradigm of addiction is eternal. Basically, once you're an addict, you're never going to be cured. You're going to pass this on to any children that you have. You have addictive tendencies, so there's no way to help you. You're powerless. You go to AA and the 12 steps, they say first step is accepting and admitting that you're powerless. And that, I think, in my theory and in my programs, I think is one of the reasons why people don't get success a lot of times with AA, with the 12 steps, with the common protocol that is addiction recovery. It's locking you into this idea that I am diseased. And if you believe that, it's going to be really hard to break free.
First of all, I want to say thanks. I know those kind of things are super not fun to talk about, and probably never will be, right?
No.
Like never will be. That there's always do I even want to go down this road right now? So first of all, thank you. I know that's not fun. Second of all, it's so weird with quote unquote addiction or alcoholism. You were on this never spectrum, and then you flip flop to this oh fuck yes spectrum. I understand it because and that look that that's kind of where we on this whole train of life. Look, you're not walking in somebody else's shoes. right? So just take it easy on them a little bit is how I, is one of the things. Excuse me. And then, look, I'm not an addict. And I haven't been. I have a lot of friends that are addicts, and AA has helped them. And then obviously there's some people that AA doesn't help. I don't want to knock, or it's kind of like we were talking about earlier. If it works for you, great. Go work your fucking steps. Go work your steps. Yeah. Do it. Yeah. Fuck yeah. For me, if I had to give it up, like, I know it's give it up to God, right? Like, I don't know if I could do that, because that paradigm doesn't really go my way. So I'm not sure how I would personally feel with AA. But back to you, what got you out? Was there a moment when you were 28 years old here that, like, you were like, whoa, what the fuck? Or is it just kind of slow and kind of, worked its way out?
Yeah. So there were things that happened throughout my early 20s that kind of gave me like an extra oomph. Like I had discovered the gym outside of just like going and running or going and doing cardio classes. I discovered a lifting program. It wasn't anything strategic. I was like 22, 23, but I enjoyed going and I enjoyed lifting weights. And that was really when I was really adamant about my gym time. That was kind of those moments, those weeks where it seemed like I was doing better. And it seemed like I was gaining traction and gaining success. But then, you can't outwork your self-image. My self-image was party girl Maggie, go get the shots, go get drunk, tell everybody about your life story. And then there I was again with a hangover for 3 days. So there were moments throughout my early 20s. It wasn't until it was actually February 2020, right before quarantine. So it was almost a month to the day before quarantine, that my husband and I went to a family wedding.
So and you were married and still party girl Maggie?
Oh yeah. So it had gotten in the way. It had definitely affected our marriage. He loves to party. He's a very sociable guy. He loves to go out, but he's one of those, what I used to think was a freak of nature that could have 1 or 2 drinks and be like, cool, let's just switch to water. That boggled my mind at the time. Fast forward, he was basically
my wife gets mad at me too, because like, I rarely get drunk.
Yeah.
But you don't know.
Yeah, just like cool, calm, collected. Yeah.
Unless something's bothering me. Now, look, if something's bothering me, I'm going to go down the deep end. But I'll be crying because somebody died.
Yeah.
But,
something extreme.
Yeah, something extreme.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, I'm just pretty chill. I'll sit on the fucking couch.
Anyway, and that's how my husband is. And so basically, whenever we'd go out, I had a full-time babysitter. Like, he was able to take care of me when I became what my friends call baby deer, not being able to walk on my 2 feet, or I couldn't get up the stairs or whatnot. So
that's not fun for him though.
Not fun, and it's not attractive. And for me, it never clicked that like I'm driving him away being this unattractive, sloppy, drunk person. But I had so much turmoil going on in my head. I'd say, I just need to drink to feel. I need to drink to talk about things and everything. Bless his heart. Things are much better now, but it was February of 2020 and we went to a wedding, and he had neck surgery after an IED explosion. So he's military. So he had a neck surgery early January. Mid-February, he's cleared to go to this wedding, and I want to dance. And he's just had cervical disc fused. Yeah, he ain't dancing, and he wants to go home. And I just blow up. I make a fool of myself. And, it wasn't even the most embarrassing thing that had ever happened to me in my drunken stupors, by far, I would say. But it was just that final straw that broke the camel's back, that I said, I'm not going to drink anymore. And I went into it for the first month. It was a little bit more difficult, obviously, because not only it wasn't my first month, but it was when things were still happening, when the world hadn't shut down yet. And a part of my own acceptance of everything that's happened over the past year and a half has been, without quarantine, I don't know that I would have been able to have the time that I needed to sit with my feelings and not use alcohol, even though I'm scrolling through and seeing where people are having mimosas at lunch on Wednesdays on their Zoom meetings. I had to gain a lot of mental toughness and resilience in that time. And I don't think I would have been able to do that if I had been able to go to parties and go do all of the normal life things.
Huh, interesting. Quarantine made you not drink, and quarantine made the rest of us drink.
I think that was an interesting.
Yeah, if you had kids, quarantine made you drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were like, well, I can't go out. I won't drink. That's interesting.
So I kind of, I think one of my main areas of success in that time was, if you remember the little STEMI package that we got, I put that towards finally getting certifications.
The Trump check.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Trump check, the 1,200.
I think it was like we were sitting around on like the third day of quarantine, and I'm like hating my life, having to work from home, doing my corporate job that I had. And
oh God, this is such a recent shift for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I had been like working out, doing all of this mindset stuff in my mind, but, never knowing how to actually apply it. And so when I started jumping all in during quarantine, I became a hermit crab. I wanted nothing more than sit at home and read my books over these new fascinating ideas. I wanted nothing more than to get into the behavior change coursework. I wanted to dive in to these invigorating goals that I had. And I realized that that's something that I never gave myself in my active addiction. And that's one reason why I never made it out until that point.
Had you tried to quit before?
Oh yeah. Oh, 100. I'd probably tried to quit at least twice a month before.
Twice a month?
For 15 years. Well, I'd say for about 10 years. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and you have to remember, I had grown up going to AA with my mom. Like I had the tools that were available. I grew up visiting her in inpatient treatments. I got the Al-Anon group spiels. I started applying that when I saw that I had a problem as a teenager. As a young adult, I was like, well, I'll work the program. It'll work if you work it. And then I totally respect everybody that AA has worked for. Everybody that the 12 steps has worked for. But I just know there's such a huge population of people out there that it hasn't worked for them. And to me, it was like a light bulb that went off when I started to study, not just personal training and nutrition and how that can boost your confidence, but also your paradigms, your subconscious programming, how your subconscious can actually attract things into your life. It became apparent. And one of the quotes that I loved that really had the light bulb moment for me was Andrew Carnegie saying, any idea that's emphasized, that's held in the mind, whether feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient form possible. So in my mind, I was like, holy shit. People who are stuck in addiction, myself included, I wasn't even thinking on a broader scale of let me teach this to other people yet. I was thinking for myself. The past 15 years, I have been thinking addiction. Why do I need alcohol? Parties, friends who are addicted, friends who are bar rats. I've been thinking everything that I don't want and attracting that into my life. It's a law of achievement. It's part of the science of success. When you go to a room full of people that are all struggling, that are all stuck in this mindset of addiction, and I think that addiction is a level of consciousness. You're thinking that the world is happening to you and you're unable to control anything. And I think that's kind of what keeps it perpetualizing in your life.
You're talking a little bit, a second ago, you're talking about with the Carnegie quote. It's the idea of Inception. I love that movie. Have you seen that movie? Right?
It confused me the first few times, but yeah.
I fucking love that you said the first few times, because I watched that thing like 30 times too.
Yeah.
It's very confusing, right? It's very, very confusing, but that's what it is. Like I don't suffer from addiction. I suffer from mental illness. I can experience really intense acute anxiety, and it all stems from like one OCD thought. Yeah. Like where the thought hooks, and it doesn't even have to be realistic, right? It doesn't matter. It catches, but you have 1,000, 1,000,000 thoughts through a day that don't fuck with you. But all of a sudden one gets its hook in, and then you can't get away from it.
Drags you down.
And then you can't, your whole day is consumed with a thought, one single thought. So yes, I understand the plight, I guess. But you got yourself out.
I got myself out, and if I were to walk into an AA group or any type of kind of conventional recovery room and say what I'm about to say, they would probably kick me out. But
Go
I
ahead.
consider myself addict.
You consider yourself what?
An ex-addict.
Yeah, they would definitely kick you out.
Yeah, completely recovered person. I'm not tempted by binge drinking. I'm not tempted. I don't romanticize about alcohol anymore. And in fact, I look towards my goals. And when I hear about a drinking scenario or situation, or I see alcohol, it actually triggers my mind now to think hangover, poison, being tired, making mistakes, being silly, not being taken seriously.
Do you drink?
I can have a drink. I actually had,
How often?
I would say I maybe have 3 times a month I'll drink, and it's at like maybe 1 to 2 drinks per time, per situation.
Have you been drunk since all of this?
Yes.
And you do okay?
Yes. I don't get out of control. I actually get to a point where I have, and my drunk now is 3 or 4 drinks for a celebratory event or something like that. And I don't like it. I switch to water on my own most of the time because I don't enjoy that feeling of not being able to control my thoughts anymore, not being able to control my behavior. Whereas in the past, it was, if I have 1 sip, I need 12 drinks, 12 shots. Oh yeah. Yeah.
How does your husband, does your husband have trauma around this? Right. Cause like, I know when I see, like, for example, any spouse, right. With any situation, when you see your significant other going down a path that you think might lead to your detriment, right. And it sounded like your drinking probably was fun at first, most likely, and then turned to not be so fun.
Right.
For your relationship. So when your husband sees this, how does he handle, right? Like how have you guys worked out your relationship in a way where it's like he doesn't, because I know I would be like, yo, no, you can't. No, I don't want to deal with you like that.
Well, he stood by me and endured I took 7 months off, not drinking at all. And he endured that. That was very difficult for me. A lot of emotions, very difficult for him, but he believed that I could do it. He believed that and at that point I was like, I'm never drinking again. I don't know if I want to drink again. Well, when I started to reintroduce it for celebrations, for what the normal person does do.
Sure. You have a fucking drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was very proud, and he still is.
But he was not nervous.
Not nervous. And I think that's what kind of, helped me so much, is that he believed in me. He didn't say, he wasn't another person in my life telling me that addiction is incurable. He was the person saying, you are powerful. You can do this. You have gone through so much bullshit. You think that you're going to let addiction knock you down. So he believed in me. There
are some people though that they can't drink. Like
I would never push that on anybody. I think it's up to you.
Right.
If, and clients that I have that I sign, they get really afraid. I think the fear of never being able to drink at all holds people back from ever trying to even moderate. So I tell them, I'm not going to tell you that you can drink or that you can't drink, but I'm going to give you experiences that allow you to make that choice with clarity. If you end up being somebody that can have a drink like a normal human being, like a true normal human being, and not have people in your life saying
whatever that is.
Yeah. Like not having people in your life like, oh, you're starting to get a little carried away. Like I haven't experienced that at all. And I trust that my husband would tell me if he's like, nope, you're exhibiting the same signs that you used to. If they can do that, then more power to them. But if they can find a life without alcohol, where they're not just obsessed with chasing a coin, that's the part about addiction recovery that I don't necessarily agree with. And I know this is polarizing. It might piss some people off, but what is the quality of life if you're scheduling your entire life to be sober around going to meetings, around having to focus on addiction versus focusing on a fulfilling purpose in life? Something, whether it be like your career or your relationships, if you're always focusing on how to stay sober, you're missing out on a big quality of life.
Well, I think that would depend.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
it would depend on how, on what the opposite side looked like,
mm-hmm.
you know, like,
what
yeah,
the alternative is.
Right. Yeah. So if it's either focus on being sober or be out in the street living like a deadbeat, well, then please focus on being sober.
Right. Yeah.
I too hope there could be a middle ground for most people, you know, where we could live a life, and whether that is with or without drugs and alcohol, I don't know, for each individual, but I think that's on for each individual to also then find out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just something that I've seen, you know, reiterate. I spend a lot of time in recovery rooms, just observing kind of the conversation, the mood, the messages, and the beliefs of people that they have about themselves, and kind of wrap around to the beginning of this conversation of what their own capabilities are. And I think that people that are in active addiction don't believe in themselves. They don't have the awareness of, you know, we touched on one of the universal laws earlier. They don't have the awareness of their higher faculties, how to think differently, how to use your thinking to get what you want out of life. And actually, one of the main themes of what I've heard in many of the recovery rooms that I'm in is that you can't think your way into action. You have to act your way into thinking. And I think that is very, very inaccurate.
Well, I think they both can exist.
I think they can. Yeah, I think they can, but I know that your thinking has to change first. The way you think.
Well, for sure. You have to have the original thought first.
Yes.
You have to, if you don't ever think I want something different, you will never do something different. That has to be the first step, is a thought, a different thought.
And then the belief behind it.
Yeah.
Like we touched on. And I think that a lot of people that are in the normal, trying to, you know, take on the normal protocol for addiction recovery, there's not a lot of belief instilled. And the faith that is suggested is faith in God. But what about faith in yourself and faith in the things that you want to happen actually happening successfully? The faith of your endeavors having a positive outcome. And I think
I don't understand it, because I can't do the faith in God thing. Like, the faith in God thing does not work for me. I believe in the possibility of something greater, and that's really great. I don't think that we are the ultimate all being and all knowing. But if that thing truly cared about me, or all of us, then there would be no kids dying with cancer.
Yeah. No. I mean, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that like AA and a lot of those recovery rooms, it is all like you give it over to God, you hand over your faith to God, but the faith that is actually necessary. And this opens the door for a lot of, especially somebody in my case, I didn't want to believe in God for all of the crap that I had been through. You know, if God were real, why did they take Eric? Why did I experience this? Why did my mom give me this childhood? Why did all of this stuff happen? And so for me, I couldn't really resonate with that. But when I started to say, okay, I can have faith in the fact that my dream can become a reality. When I stopped saying, oh, I could never do that because I'm just an alcoholic, and you know, the kind of the paradigms for addicts are so wide and varietous. But it could be that they're too old, or they think that, you know, they're too unhealthy because they've been drinking for so long. I don't have enough money because I've, you know, wasted my career or all of my money on booze or drugs, whatever the case may be. There's so many things that can pop up in your mind when you have one of those, basically, I guess, impulsive thought hooks. So many things that can pop up and hold you there, unless you're able to stand guard at the portal of your mind and say, do I want to believe this? Do I want to say that I'm hopeless because I'm addicted? Or do I want to say that I have the power to rewrite my narrative, and I get to decide if I'm going to be diseased with what they say is incurable? And I think that's where it opens doors.
Yeah. Now look, I don't want to totally knock God, even though it doesn't sound like it's for you, and it doesn't sound like it's for me. The belief in God does give some people, a lot of people actually, the power to then go do that. Because it gives them this faith in themselves, where it does not give me the faith in myself. And it doesn't sound like which again almost goes back to our original point of cool, let it be for you. Right? Like, man, do thing, baby. Like,
yeah,
hell yeah. Are you hurting anybody? Are you hurting anybody? No. Are you destroying somebody else's life? No. Does it work for you? Great. It just doesn't have to be the answer.
right? Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the answer. So what are some of your steps? You know, what are some of the things that you help people with as you walk them through? Or, you know, I don't know, I'm a Star Wars junkie. As you try to be the Obi-Wan Kenobi of their life.
I like that better than guru.
Well, because guru sounds so shitty, right? I don't want to be anybody's fucking guru.
I know.
You know, Obi-Wan Kenobi was the man. He went to war. He fought, you know, so like, you know, I'm so down to be legit. I'm down to be Obi-Wan. I don't want to be a goddamn guru.
So in my own way of being my own Obi-Wan Kenobi, is first of all, allowing a client to get to know themselves of who they are, not who they think they should be based off of what their parents told them as kids, based off what their spouse or their partner thinks, but like, who are you at your core when you knock down all of these?
Oh God, this is my favorite question. Who are you then?
Who am I?
Yeah, that's my favorite question. This is the number one for me. Like, this is the number one thing for me. If you don't know who you are, you're fucked. Who are you?
I am somebody that learned through experience that, you know, life can bring you circumstances that aren't necessarily advantageous, but you can turn everything into a positive. You can have a great attitude with any endeavor, and that's going to get you further. So I'm somebody that, you know, no matter the situation, I have a positive attitude and a positive, successful expectancy, because I realize that without that, you're not going to get anywhere in life. If you always think you're going to be a fuck up, you're always going to be a fuck up.
Can I push you a little?
Oh, yeah.
Mind?
Yeah.
I'm going to push you a little. This isn't like the podcast way.
I'm
supposed to just ask you, but well, I'm just supposed to interview you, right? This is how podcasting is supposed to go. I believe you have to really know who you are. I am blah, 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 right? I am adjective.
Okay?
My personal belief, and you tell me what you think of it. Like, for example, I'll give you, I say my I ams every day. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a teacher, I'm a student, I'm a fighter, I'm a survivor, and all of those things make me enough. Now, all of those things, they're unfuckable with. I like to say that every single one of them is unfuckable with. If the universe ended, if I died, whatever happened, they would, outside of the universe ending, other than survivor, because now I'd be dead, so I wouldn't be a survivor anymore. They're always true. You can't make them not true. If, like, God forbid my kids die, I'm still a dad. You know, so you can't fuck with me now. And now, once you can't fuck with me, I'm okay with fucking up. I'm okay with almost being a fuck up sometimes. So, like, those are, I feel like it's very important to know exactly who it is that you are.
So, is that for me to open up the floor and do my declarative I ams?
No. Well, if you want to, yeah, for sure. But whatever you want, like, if you want, I just want to know your thoughts on declarative I ams, like how I see it, and how you take it into your thing. So yeah, no, I'm not right. It's just my thing. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. When you start any sentence with I am, whatever comes after that is going to become part of your self-image and who you are at the core. And it's going to boost your self-confidence. That's why
destroy it.
Or destroy it. Yes, you can actually have negative affirmations, things playing against you. But the fact that you are saying, I am a father, and then like all of these things that make you unfuckable with, that's because you're confident in them, because you've told your subconscious time and time again, these are my roots. This is who I am at my core. And no matter what anybody else says to me, it remains true. So that I love that. I love when you can actually say, I am blank, and it be a very positive, empowering word, versus what normally happens, I find, in a kind of 97% population, is they use that against themselves. I am lazy. I am unathletic. I'm fat. I'm depressed.
I feel people try to go too positive as well. I am the best. And goddamn, that's a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
It's a lot to live up to. I'm not the best. Like, I'm okay with not being the best, actually. I don't think I've ever been the best at anything. You know, and that's okay. But I am these other things.
When you say you're the best, you kind of proclaim that you're judging and you're not going to ever try to grow. Because if you look at a new opportunity and you're saying I'm the best, you're not going to try to experience it. I already know what that is. I'm the best at everything. So, I think that's a good way to stifle your growth in general, is thinking that you're the best and thinking that there's no way to level up. So 100%.
I mean, I can get into it for a minute. Like if you have to like go win this competition and you got to convince yourself like right now I'm the best. Okay, well, fuck it. Let's go.
Yeah. That's why I like, one of my affirmations is I am known to have a positive expectancy, meaning that, or a successful expectancy. I just expect the things that I undergo to have the successful outcome. I don't look at an endeavor and say, what if I fail? What if I can't do it? I did for most of my life. And that's where I was getting those same results over and over again. But when I changed it and said, you know what, if I believe it, if I desire it, and if I kind of nurture the goal, to use the hip vocabulary vernacular right now, if I'm moving in alignment with my goals, then it's going to happen. If you put in the work.
I guess I'm not super keen on the vernacular.
Sometimes it rubs me the wrong way.
It's cool. Sometimes, and that's okay. That's okay. You make it work for you. As we close here, so I already asked my one question, why you did it. Now, my second question that I always ask to end is, I believe everyone has a unique power in the world, something that makes them truly amazing. That doesn't mean money. It doesn't mean fame. It's almost like the gift that they get to give to the world. What's your power?
Kind of just on this topic that we were just saying, I think my power is curiosity. And it's the fact that I never do claim that I'm the best at anything. I look at something and I want to know more. I want to know how it works. I want to experiment with it. I never look at anything and judge it and say, that's silly, that won't work. My sister-in-law told me that that's just stupid. My neighbor told me they tried it and it's just, a waste of time. What most people do, right? I'm curious. And I want to
love
try
the
it for
meme
myself.
right now. I love the meme going around that says, man, you didn't do research. Okay. Researching is not searching on Facebook or calling your sister-in-law, right? Like research is years long of work. So stop saying you did the research. That's what, when you said I talked to my sister-in-law, that's what made me think of.
Yeah, I talk to people all the time, especially when I have people that are interested in more of the fitness and nutrition portion of the program. Well, my sister-in-law or my coworker told me that they tried fasting and it blah, 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 and I'm just like, you got to try things for yourself, do the research. And I think that's what's given me an edge. You had mentioned that, I have been in this space for kind of a short amount of time, but in that time, I have been just taking in whatever I can. I don't really listen to music. I listen to podcasts, lectures on audiobooks. I read. I have a stack of books that I rotate through. And one of my paradigms that I had to move away from was that you have to graduate with a degree to be smart or to be valuable in our society. That really fucked me up for a long time. That was a big reason why I drank, because I thought I had no worth or no future. And when I realized that I can study what interests me and what I'm passionate about, and I actually really freaking enjoy it once I get a book that I'm interested in and I can apply it and teach it to people, then it was like a whole new world opened up. And I think that it's always important to remain curious rather than judgmental. And I'll always be curious and I'll want to teach people things. So,
yeah, I mean, like, look, the whole education thing, it depends on what you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be a plumber, you got to go to plumber school. I don't even know what plumber school is called. If you want to do, I don't know. Yeah. If you want to do surgery on people's knees and well, then you have to go to med school. You have to go to college, go to med school, get degrees and yada, yada. Look, I have a degree, I have a degree in mathematics, and the only thing it was really good for was it introduced me to this martial arts world even more so than I was already in my younger days. I shouldn't say introduced me. It solidified my full entrance into martial arts as a grown adult.
Right.
But that's it, because it introduced me to people.
Right.
I don't think I'd be any less successful. I know I wouldn't be any less successful if I didn't go to college.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a place for education. It's valued. I think
without a doubt.
There's a lot of things in my life that I have because of the coursework that I was able to attain before I drunkenly dropped out of college. Things like, I was into graphic design. I worked on the newspaper. That's helping me design things for my company. I worked, copywriting that helps me write content. I worked public speaking. I did forensics and debate that helps me do literally what we're doing here.
Sure.
But just because I didn't get that piece of paper doesn't mean that that's not, that I'm not as important. And there's people that graduate with titles going right off the end of their business card and they aren't applying their knowledge. And I think a lot of it is more about applying and having that passion rather than just saying, here's a piece of paper and resting on your laurels.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Harvard bumper sticker.
Yeah.
But again, it just depends. If you want to be a doctor, you have to have.
I definitely want to go to a doctor that has the piece of paper.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. Like I'm not going to have surgery from some dude that like read about it in a book or watched it on YouTube. Not happening. Right? No fucking way.
Yeah.
So,
but there's certain places in certain areas of the world and of business that you can really thrive on experience. And I think that's something, outside of my curiosity, that's another superpower, is that I've just experienced a lot of shit. And I'm able to say, hey, look, I've been there. I've done that. Let's get through this together. And I teach people in a positive way. A lot of my clients are like, people tell me this all my life, but it wasn't until you said it in your exact words and your exact tone and your body language that it was able to click for me. And I think that my empathy also helps as well. So it's kind of a whole package.
What does your arm say?
This is actually a song lyrics by Jackson Brown. My dad passed away 3 years ago, just before I got sober. So another kind of reason why. But it says, I'll never stop looking for you. That's the way love is. And it's from Jackson Brown's song, Sky Blue and Black.
All right. Well, I have one too.
I was actually going for something more like that, where it was like straight, but they said that the lyrics wouldn't fit. So they had to blow it up. But we have similar tattoos. Yes. So Maggie, tell everyone where they can reach you if they want to work with you, or if they look, even if they're just your message resonated with them. So where can everybody find you? Yeah. So my company is called Magnify Progressive Wellness. So if you go online, www.magnifypw.com, you'll see my site. You'll see some client reviews. You'll have a chance to apply to work with Magnify. And then on Instagram, I put out a lot of mindset trainings, on Facebook as well. Maggie Jenson on Facebook. It's Jenson, like Jenson. And then on IG, when it comes back on,
whenever we go back to the real world.
Yeah, it's magnify_Maggie.J11. So Magnify Maggie.
All right. Guys, as always, don't go out in the world and try to be Maggie. She has her own unique power. Don't go out in the world and try to be Elliot. I have my own unique power. Go out in the world and find your power.